Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining the webinar here today. Gonna wait, let's see, 2 or 3 more minutes to wait for any last minute attendees that come in, any stragglers. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining the webinar here today. For those that don't know, my name is Alex Lepore. I'm the Regional Southwest Sales Manager here at Fortress Power. Today, I have a really neat webinar planned for you guys, and the solar and storage sales webinar, primarily covering the topic of why you aren't selling more batteries. Throughout this webinar, there is a question tab, which you can click down on your control panel if you have questions throughout the webinar. I'll do a quick 10 to 15 minute Q&A after the webinar is finished to address any and all questions regarding the content or our product line in that kind of way. So I have a lot of fun topics for you guys here today. I'm going to be sending out a few questions here to start regarding some polling on sales in that kind of regard. So if you guys get this first one, please answer the poll when you have a minute. There are no right or wrong answers. I really want to get an idea. And I have 3 polls for you guys. So we'll go through each one of them accordingly and discuss upon that quickly. So I'll give it another minute, see the answers are flying in here. All right, guys. So the question here for the poll was how many touches per prospect are you typically using for your customers? So I have around 29% for 3 touches, 60% for 5, and then 7% respectively for 8 and 10 touches. Now, I don't think there's any right answer. Depending on the business that you're in, you'll see all kinds of information on how many touches is enough touches. Some sales mentors will recommend up to 12, and some recommend as low as 6, as long as they're quality touches. So the main, I think, takeaway from this is that everybody has a different strategy with how many times they're communicating with their customer. And depending on your customer's needs or your particular business, it could range anywhere from 3 touches, meaning 3 quality conversations with that customer, all the way up into 10 touches. Maybe this is after a cold call that you're doing and you're having to do repeated touches, whether it be disclosing new information to that customer, making them aware of some new promo or option that you have, or something along those lines. So as of now, looks like the final numbers have came in, and I just closed the poll. Looks like we had 36% with 3, 41% with 5, 9% for 8, and then 14% for 10 touches. I think you guys are right on point. Anywhere from 5 to 10 touches is really going to be the ideal, I think, range that you'll want, because I think 3 may be a little bit too small, and 10 you might be beating the dead horse. So certainly want to stay in that range and always be providing information on what's new and what can you give for the prospect. So I have another question coming up here. Please take a few seconds and answer that. I'll leave this open for 45. Okay, guys, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. Keep this moving. All right, so the second poll that I had put together for you guys today is how long is the average sales cycle? So we had answers 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, and 8 months. Respectively, we had a 10%, 50%, 35%, and 5% breakdown of how long the average sales cycle is. I think depending on, again, if you're doing B2B or even business to consumer selling, I normally see the average sales cycle for something in our business to be around that 1 to 3 month mark. Barring very large, whether government projects, large scale, like hospitality projects, that's when we can see that lead time get upwards of 8 months or even longer in some instances. Fortress had worked on the SEPTA project outside of Philadelphia here. That was certainly longer than an 8-month sales cycle, putting together all the details for a government-funded project. Now, if you're working in the B2B or B2B or B2C, selling solar systems and services to consumers, that certainly is on par with your 1 to 3 month sales cycle. This could be from initially meeting the customer to your site visit, to then the final kind of nail in the coffin is getting that piece of paper signed and starting the project then on. So I think typically for what we're seeing, if you're installing residential solar, 1 to 3 months is on par. Larger solar projects, some of these sales cycles can be a lot longer. So making sure that you're doing your due diligence depending on your project. Don't always give up so easily, because it could be 3 months down the road or even 6 months down the road in some instances, and then the customer will come to fruition with, I'm ready to pull the trigger on X project. So very good there. I like that one because sales cycle can differ per company, per location, etc. So one more poll here for you guys. I'll leave it open for another 45 seconds. Thank you. All right, guys, 10 seconds. All right, gonna close the poll now, everybody. So what form of communication are you typically using when communicating with your prospects? Some of the answer choices were email, phone, text, and in person. My answer to this is there's not one form of communication that you can use to get in touch with your prospect. You need to use a multitude of all these different touches, whether you're emailing somebody an updated brochure, getting them on the phone to talk to them, texting them updates on what's going on your side of things, or even seeing them in person for the site evaluation, learning more about their project. Maybe you want to see based on the site where you're going to stick the inverter and batteries. It's a combination of what form of communication. Now, in the last year or two, in-person communication obviously hasn't been the most popular option, but let's think pre-COVID, seeing somebody in person, sitting down with them at the kitchen table, the dog is walking around your legs, you're able to get the full idea of who your customer is or prospect, what they're looking to do, and then you can really talk with them more on a one-on-one level. So before I really jump into the slides here today, there's one thing I want to mention, and that is when I was putting this presentation together, my marketing manager, Jamie, said, well, not everybody does sales. And that really isn't in the case, whether you're an operations manager, just a solar installer, or maybe you're the marketing manager at your company. Sales isn't everything. Everybody's involved with all parts of the business and synergy. And you're also typically everybody's going to be interfacing with the customer at some point. So it's not just the sales managers here that are technically doing sales. Everybody is going to be doing sales, whether you're the CEO of a company all the way down to the janitor of a particular company. So sales is not just this one, tunnel vision aspect. Sales is very much so can be layered across many different aspects of a business or company, whether it's top down or horizontal. So one thing I like to mention there, it's very important to keep in mind. So with that said, let's go over the agenda for the day and see what we got in the forecast. So a little bit about who we are and what we do. Fortress Power, for those that don't know, we're a lithium iron phosphate battery manufacturer focused on the residential and commercial markets. We're based right outside of Philadelphia in a small town called Southampton, Pennsylvania. We were founded way back in 2016 by a group of investment bankers and solar veterans. You'll see here our headquarters here. It's a 30,000 square foot facility for research and development, sales, and logistics. And we have 2 other warehouses in Texas and Florida. Being a battery provider and being the sales manager here for the past 5 years, I've seen installations all over the place. Batteries are certainly a hot topic. So not only are we in the continental US, we're also in Canada, the Central Caribbean, South America, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. We are the key lithium battery supplier for SEPTA, which is the local railway company I mentioned with that longer sales cycle, Hydro-Quebec, which is a Canadian utility, and the Navajo Reservation, which is a large-scale project out in the Midwest using some of our batteries for off-grid applications. So we definitely have had our fair share of battery experience in the last 5 years. A few topics we're going to cover today. We're going to go over some of the market trends that we're typically seeing with batteries, go over quickly the applications of battery storage and where you can use these batteries for, adding storage to your business, what's going to be needed, what kind of things are you going to look out for, and then go over some of the key selling tips and key selling strategies of selling energy storage and things to be on the lookout for while doing that, and then going over some of the support we provide here at Fortress Power. So for those of you that for the first time here and haven't seen this Department of Energy analysis, they're really calling that by 2030, the end of this decade, stationary deployments are going to exceed 150 gigawatt hours of storage. So very big boom in energy storage and 27% annual growth for grid-related storage applications. So if you guys see here on the right-hand side, you'll see grid-related would be something to with what Fortress Power does in the residential and commercial space. And you see here from 2021 to the end of this decade, grid-related stationary storage is going to be the biggest thing since sliced bread, no pun intended. The largest market for energy storage is going to be North America with a whopping 41.1 gigawatt hours of energy storage deployed, whether this is residential, commercial, utility, or industrial scale energy storage. Energy storage is here and it's here to stay. And why is this? Why is this accelerated growth? I mean, if you would have talked to me 5 years ago about where batteries are going to now in the next 5 years, I'm sure all of us would have been kind of surprised with this growth of batteries. So the first thing is the battery affordability. We're seeing the cost of solar falling over 20% alone in the past 5 years. We're just going to see a similar trend, I believe, after this whole inflation kind of streak ends with a 46% price reduction in the lithium battery cells. There's a lot of new incentives coming to the market. We all know the 26% ITC tax credit was extended, along with some different statewide incentives. Like if you're in California, there's the SCHIP incentive, the Self-Generation Incentive Program, the GMP incentive in Vermont, and other statewide rebate programs that you can take advantage of to give your customer the maximum bang for their buck. And then last but not least, there's a shifting mindset. So the first thing is fear. I don't have to say, I'm sure if you're in the Northwest right now, or if you're in the Southwest, I'm really praying for you guys out there. This heat wave is absolutely insane, this heat dome that they're calling it. And not only that, we're seeing the situation in Texas a few months ago with that storm. And now we have the NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Association, releasing new hurricane season data, thus showing that they're increasing the amount of named storms and hurricanes per year, thus causing more people to be really invested in thinking about, what do I do when I do not have power? How do I protect my family, and how do I protect myself? Fear is the major driving factor for batteries and solar as people want to be independent from the grid. We now have this higher emphasis on renewables because of awareness on how climate change is affecting the earth. And last but not least, the most recent political administration change is also proving to be beneficial for renewables, whether it be extending the tax credit or just bringing awareness to batteries and renewables in general, and the long-term benefits of really shifting away from these fossil fuels we've been using for the past 100 years. So a lot of really interesting stimulus and factors coming into this push for batteries over the next 10 years. So moving right along here, adding storage to your business. What does this take? Where do I start? If I'm already in batteries, how do I incorporate Fortress into my designs? Might be what you're thinking. The first thing is, what kind of applications do you want to work on, everybody? Do we want to do backing up your facility, using a battery as an emergency power source? If you're in an area where the utility is not allowing for net metering, are you going to be using batteries for a self-use application, so that way customers can maximize their PV production? Are you in a time of use rate area where customers are paying through the nose? Instead of 20 cents a kW from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., are they paying 40, 50, or even 60 cents a kW from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.? Really, I think it's important as sales managers, business owners, know what market you're in, know what applications that you want to be the expert in, so that way you can rinse and repeat and make a cookie cutter solution for your customer base. Depending on when you're located, your application may certainly be different than someone, for example, installing batteries outside of our facility here in Philadelphia. So knowing the applications first and foremost is going to get you one step ahead, to get you in the right direction, to get you ready to sell more batteries. What is the impact of adding batteries to your portfolio? The first thing, simply put, is more revenue. You have more opportunities for projects, higher margins, and there's up to a 30% growth with adding storage to your business. If you want to check out that Department of Energy analysis, they break it down really nicely on how adding storage to your business not only gives you more opportunities, but you can grow your business significantly with just batteries alone and taking advantage of this growth in the market. You also be known as a battery expert. This means more referrals, more business back to you as the battery expert like yours truly. So you're gonna get more marketing reach. And word of mouth is still extremely valuable in today's age. Even with social media, people are still talking, exchanging information. Maybe the medium is different, but they're still talking with one another about things they like, people they like, companies they like, etc. And what is the impact if you don't add batteries onto your projects? Well, let me tell you guys, you're going to miss out on this tremendous growth over the next 10 years. So if you're not already in batteries, I would highly recommend you consider it. You do not want to get left behind in one of the biggest markets that we'll probably be seeing by the end of 2030. So getting started, what are you going to need? So typical solar installer goes out to the site visit, right? You're going to figure out your solar array size. Is it a ground mount solar? Is it a roof mount solar? What is the size of my solar array? And then I want to figure out what application would I propose a battery to be used for. If you're, let's say, sizing a solar system for a rooftop array and they want to back up their home, you're going to be selling right for emergency power situations. You then want to get that load profile for all the loads in their home that they want backed up during a particular time. So the first thing is going onto site, sizing up your solar, figuring out where you're going to put your solar, the application for a battery, if they ask for it, or even if you're going to add it into your proposal, and then you can collect more information on your customer profile. You're gonna want to know more about your customer, not only just their load profile, but what are their habits? What application are they using to school? What's important to them? And then ideally, you're going to figure out what their gap is, where they are versus where they want to be, and how installing a solar and solar battery is really going to solve that immediate problem. So for example, you have one customer who, let's use time of use, for example, they're spending tons of money through the nose paying for peak charges. They do not want to be paying tons of money through the nose during those peak charges. The gap that you're filling is solar and storage, discharging the batteries during peak times, so that way you're not purchasing power from the utilities during those peak times. Some more things to keep in mind as you're on your site visit and learning more about your customer is the budget and timeline. What is the budget of their project and what is the timeline of their project? You certainly don't want to be quoting maybe something as large as an EVOL if their budget doesn't allow for something like an EVOL, but maybe take a look at the eFlex 5.4. Knowing your customer's budget and timeline is extremely important because it's going to help you manage the expectations of what this battery behind me is going to do. One thing in sales that we never want to do is we never want to overpromise and underdeliver. So managing the expectations based off of the site visit, customer profile, and budget and timeline is crucially important to avoid buyer's remorse and negative feedback loops down the road. The last thing I always recommend is review the project scope with your customer. Go through everything that you had talked about on the site visit, on the customer profile, affirming with them, this is why we're adding a solar and solar battery to your system. Do you understand why we're doing this and how we're doing this? There's a lot of very good studies out there showing that communication in these things, it's not just a one and done. You need to be very communicative and overly communicative at points to make sure, again, you're not overpromising and underdelivering. So some tips I have for selling success: use certain keywords. You can use payback and security, safety, value, and longevity. And storage is really a safe, tangible investment because power is more important than it's ever been. Use different references and incentives. You can use customer references from past experience, or take advantage of the incentives that are already in place. Make them, break it down into chunks. You can use the 26% ITC tax credit or other statewide incentives depending on where you're based. Some objectives that I feel that we all get when talking with the end user about batteries is the pricing. This battery is way too expensive. I'll wait till the end of my 10 years and then I'll invest in a battery. Well, the problem with that is that you're going to be missing out on the expected return on investment from installing a battery in your home. And there are many financing options out there as well that Fortress, for an example, is approved with. So whether it's a Fortress battery or another battery, the objection of price is typically something where you can say, this is a long-term investment. It's like investing in a car. This is not something where you're going to the store and buying a can of Coke. This is a long-term, tangible investment that you can use day in and day out if you so choose. Kind of leads me to my next point with the I'll wait objection. This one always gets me, says, well, I'm going to wait and I need money to clear up. The weather needs to be nicer. I'm adopting a dog. I mean, it can be anything. We all know the I'll wait objection can really be anything. And it brings me back to the pricing. The sooner that you can invest in this system, the more that you're going to get a return on investment from a solar and solar battery. Even if now is not the time for you to get a solar and solar battery, let's do solar first. Get them familiar with working with you, getting a system installed and feeling comfortable, and then you can always wait till the future. Go back to them down the road, and you can really give them that value of saying, okay, you started with the solar, now do you want to have your solar backed up? We have some new battery options here, which can really, I think, help you provide security for your family. Or maybe it can really help you shave money off of your electric bill. So objections are just another way for you to prove to the customer the value that you're providing as a solar installer. So very neat. Here's some of the tips. Now getting into some of the new stuff we have here, is talking about the kinds of technology, the kinds of customers the kinds of salespeople, and then where you need to be. So let's start with the kinds of technology, right? So we have birth, fast growth, incremental growth, and maturity. The birth, this is new technology, right? This is a brand new technology. If this was maybe batteries 10 years ago, lithium batteries at least 10 years ago, this is the birth. So it's the newest technology out on the market. It's not very well tested, and it's certainly not standardized. We have the fast growth. So this is where you're seeing advances in the technology and you're seeing more value with this new growth in lithium. And then you have incremental growth, which is there's widespread growth of the particular industry or product. And then you have maturity, where this is a standard product, it's a standardization moving forward. So where you need to be in terms of this is we are in the fast growth section. So we're in basically the middle of the birth of lithium, and then right on the cusp, I think, of incremental growth, where we have a mass standardization of batteries. We're very close to that, but we're still in the fast growth stage. Now, there's 4 kinds of customers out there. You have gate swingers, progressives, relationships, and world customers. The gate swingers are the first. They're also known as the early adopters. These are the people that even if the technology is unproven, they will still invest in the system because they want to be the first to try it and get their hands on it. You then have the progressive customers. These are the more technically advanced customers looking for a unique solution for their particular problem. In this case, for lithium, it'd be unique solutions. Maybe this is for off-grid projects where they need a unique custom solution for their particular problem. You have then relationship customers. They want a reliable, tested solution, and then they want to be able to basically grow that relationship with you as the installer. And then you have world customers. These kind of customers just want a standard product at a good price. Nothing else matters. They want the can of Coke for $2.50. They do not want the Coca-Cola Zero for $2.75. Just as an example, I like the Coca-Cola examples. So moving from the 4 kinds of customers that we then have 4 kinds of salespeople. It's broad, so don't quote me on this, but there are 4 kinds of salespeople out there. You have the closer, the wizard, the relationship builder, and the captain and crew. The closer is a high energy extrovert that really his or her main objective is to close the deal, get in front of the customer and get them to put the pen to paper. We all know the closer mentality. We all have seen movies about closers, but there's more to sales than just closing. We have the wizard. The wizard is the kind of person who would work with a progressive customer. So they will tailor a unique solution based off of their expertise of that product. So that way, when the customer, whether a relationship customer, progressive customer comes, the wizard can work with that customer to do a custom solution. Like I said, a wizard salesperson could be someone who does exclusively off-grid projects, or maybe they do exclusively custom projects with batteries for large or even small. Last, we have the relationship builder. So this is more based off of the building relationships aspect, where you're working with someone for a very long period of time. You're going back and forth with them. You're either going to be putting solar on first and then adding a battery on later. You're maybe using them as a case study or references for other customers. So the relationship builder's job is really to nurture and develop that relationship with your prospect or customer, to use them or work with them at a later date. And then last but not least, you have the captain and the crew. This is typically seen for all aspects of customer service. So the captain and crew will help with customer service related issues, support, et cetera, et cetera. So where do you need to be to run a successful business and sell more batteries? We already established we're in the fast growth right now. In terms of the technology that lithium batteries are, we're in fast growth. We're past birth. We're right into the cusp of where things are really starting to grow out. The incentives are getting better. We're not quite yet to incremental growth, where it's a widespread standard kind of approach, but we're getting there. We're making very good progress. And the next is we want to make sure we're working with progressive and relationship customers. We want to make sure that customers we work with, they either want an advanced solution and unique solution for their home, or they want to work with a solar installer and build that relationship to help, either help you earn more business down the road, or even vice versa. There is something that you can give to the end user at the end of the day. And then the last thing is the kind of salesperson. We want the wizard or relationship builder kind of sales profile. So like I mentioned, the fast growth and the technology advances and begins to get into widespread use. It's not quite there, but it's certainly getting there. The progressive wants an advanced solution with a high level of performance, and the relationship customers want a reliable, accepted product and are knowledgeable. Now, not to say the kinds of customers, I did put are knowledgeable. All these customers are knowledgeable in today's day and age with access to the internet, YouTube, Discord. Everybody can learn anything through many different sorts of platforms. So making sure that you're not just going off the assumption, oh, well, they want a reliable product and they want to build that relationship. All the people that we will be connecting with are more likely than not more knowledgeable than they'll ever be because of the internet. And then I mentioned the two kinds of salespeople that I would typically recommend would be the wizard, a team player that enjoys challenges for unique solutions, and then the relationship builder. You're developing good long-term customer relations. So maybe you have the wizard and the closer to close the deal and portray that value, and then you have the relationship builder develop that long-term customer relations, whether it's for reviews, whether it's for case studies, could be for a soiree of different things on your team. Now, I think that we don't want to discount the closer and the captain and crew because these are also very important aspects to the total sales process. It can't just be closing and it can't just be customer service. So finding a healthy balance between the four kinds of salespeople for your team, and my opinion would be the wizard and relationship builder would be a very good start. Creating those unique solutions and fostering the relationships is what's going to bring you that repeat business and get you that marketing outreach and case studies and referrals that you want. So very important there on where you want to be. Now, there is something about the fast growth technology advancements that I did forget to mention, in that they're very skeptical, right? From birth to fast growth, it is a new kind of technology. So a lot of what we'll be doing as let's say solar professionals, solar experts, battery experts, is education, since we're in this fast growth kind of niche. Because of that, we need to educate people on chemistry of the batteries, how a battery can help them, what kinds of things should they be on the lookout for from other companies, because not every solar installer is considered equal, truthfully. So something to keep in mind there, just moving forward. So the book I had referenced for this is this one right here. It's called Selling the Wheel by Jeff Cox and Howard Stevens. I would highly recommend this. You can get this on Amazon for like $8. It really dives into the different kinds of technology, the different kinds of customers, kinds of salespeople. And then depending on your business and your business model, you can hone those in and find an all-star team to really execute on what you're looking to do. So Selling the Wheel, one of my favorites, would recommend moving forward. So that said, we talked about the kind of technology industry that we're in. We talked about the kinds of customers. We understand that, okay, the customers are a progressive customer or relationship customer. It's not a one and done. And we understand that the sales team needs to be team players that can make unique solutions and develop long-term customer relations, while not forgetting about our captain and crew. Customer service issues are a lot of what battery reviews are written about. So making sure your captain and crew sales team or salesperson is well vetted in that, or well experienced or well trained, whatever that is crucially important. So I want to transition over into developing business and consumer relations. So there are technically 5 steps to, I guess generally, to develop these different kind of relationships. The first is establishing common ground, displaying integrity and trust, using time purposefully, offering help, and asking for help. So the first one, establishing common ground, I like to use the acronym ROC, rapport, objectives, credibility. So rapport could be, finding out as you're on site, creating rapport with your customer. Maybe you have similar experiences together. If you're in a similar area, there may be things where you can create that rapport. Maybe you were introduced from a mutual contact. So establishing common ground just based off of commonality is very powerful, especially if you're walking in on somebody cold. the objectives. So you want to agree upon the objectives of why you're there and why you're quoting a solar system. This is also important because it ties then into credibility. This is going to be giving sincerity and showing competence for the objectives that you had set because of the rapport that you have established. So you can kind of work backwards, because by showing credibility, you're obviously affirming the objectives that they have by developing that rapport of trust and integrity. And worked out pretty nicely here, because number 2 is displaying integrity and trust. You really want to provide a commitment, show them that you are committed to them, and this is for them. This isn't, this is not for you getting the sale. This is for the customer's benefit, and that you were there to be the battery expert and solar expert. And one way that you can also display integrity and trust is using word of mouth and referrals. That's a very powerful thing. If Joe and Tom are buddies, and Tom says to Joe, "Hey, I worked with ABC Solar. They did a great work." That is 10 times more powerful than reading a Google review online. So display integrity and trust after establishing that common ground, and use time purposely. Acronym here I like to use is POP: purpose, outcome, process. Using time purposely. Guys, it's a very, very busy world out there. We're all wearing many hats. We're dealing with all sorts of different things. The end user is no different. They have many different things on their plate. You need to use your time purposely, and you need to use it very strategically. So using time purposely, the purpose for this could be, what is the purpose of the objectives that we have? What is the purpose of my visit here today? And what is the desired outcome that we're trying to get at based off of, let's say, the first site evaluation? And then one more step would be the process. So what process are we going to go through to get to the outcome that we desired because of the purpose that you're dealing with? So it's a lot to take in. Let's use an example. The purpose. We have a customer. They go through outages once a month. The purpose for your visit is that they want a solution to back up their home. The outcome will be that when the grid goes out, they have a battery to back up the critical loads in their home, so that way they don't have to run a generator or move wires around. They're not losing food in their fridge. They have the backup source there. And then what is the process that we're going to do to get them to that desired outcome of having grid independence, or even just a grid backup solution? Using time purposely can have an agenda written out for your customer, knowing what you're going to talk about, having those talking points available, having referrals and case studies available is also a very good tool, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, you guys. You don't have to over-explain everything when you can show someone can read or look at a graph or something along those lines to help you use your time purposely and not have to over-explain things. Next thing is offering help. Number 4 is pretty synonymous with number 1, 2, and 3, right? You're going to be offering help. You're establishing that ground and gaining credibility. You're displaying integrity and trust, and you're using their time and your time purposefully. And you're really reiterating steps 1, 2, and 3. And this is offering help. This is going to be being the expert for them, giving them the guidance that they need, because some people, they just don't know what they don't know. And then the last thing is asking for help. Now, you might be thinking, why would I ask my prospect or customer for help when I'm the expert? I mean, it's a very fair question. My response to that would be asking them if we're on the same page. Is there anything I missed? Do you have any questions? How did I do today? Is there anything that you would have changed if you were in my position? This builds respect and transparency between you and the end user while you're on site, over the phone, over the email, asking for that honest feedback. It may not be something that you want to hear, quite honestly, but feedback is information. If you want to be better and you want to be the best at your craft, you need to get used to being, getting that negative feedback sometimes, which is another way of asking for help. So the 5 steps for developing high contact and high profile business and consumer relationships is establishing the common ground, right? Pretty straightforward. Develop the rapport, confirm the objectives, and display credibility. Then display integrity and trust. Use their time purposefully as you're establishing ground and displaying trust via the purpose and outcome and process of why you're there on your site visit. Offer help throughout each step. Maybe they don't understand what the objectives of this call is, or what the desired outcome is, or how the heck this whole process is going to work since I'm applying for the federal ITC tax credit. Offering help throughout it, affirming through each individual step is going to make you seem like a less sleazy salesperson and more like an established professional who really wants to help them. And then last, the reciprocal of asking for help, giving them or having them give you the feedback on maybe your pitch, the products, the project as a whole, case study, X, Y, and Z. So the book that I had pulled some of these different points from and put together this was Business Relationships That Last. This is by Ed Wallace, another really good book on Amazon. I would recommend this. Also, there's a whole lot more on establishing common ground, displaying trust, using time, offering help, and asking for help. So this is the business relationship that lasts. It's 5 steps into transforming contacts into high-performing relationships. And that's exactly what we're doing based on selling the wheel, right? We're selling the wheel. We're developing long-term customers that want unique solutions. And this is very synonymous with selling the wheel and business relationships that last. So we covered a lot here regarding some of the sales strategies. So if I had a couple of takeaways here before I jump into some of the products we offer, it would be there is no such thing as over communication. Have a plan of action and execute that plan of action. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and also don't be afraid to correct people should they be wrong. Now, you don't want to be certainly rude about it, but there is such a thing as being firm and being stern, because you know what's best for the customer. No matter how many YouTube videos they've watched or how much information, you ultimately are the person that they're going to go to. Okay, perfect. So a little about the batteries options that we have here. The first thing is we just do the battery here at Fortress Power, folks. So we do not do the inverter. We've teamed up with a bunch of A-list inverter companies on the 48-volt side, including Solark and Schneider, Outback, Magnum, SMA, Victron, Morningstar, and Midnight. So we have a lot of experience with all these inverters, and we've actually established closed communication with the Solark and Schneider, and we're testing right now with SMA. So first thing is when you're on your site visit, determine what kind of inverter are you going to be using for this project if you should decide to use Fortress batteries. You'll see some of these are just AC coupled, some are just DC coupled, and some are both. There are benefits to AC or DC coupling, whether it's an existing system or you're putting on a brand new system. Now, all these inverters have their respective pros and cons, just like Fortress Power batteries have their respective pros and cons. So reason why we have all these inverter partners, because not one inverter, not one battery can fulfill all the different applications out there. Do you have any questions on our compatible inverters list, or there's an inverter on this list that you don't see that you've been using and want to double check if it's going to work, shoot us over an email. We can confirm that for you so you can continue using that preferred inverter for upcoming projects. Now, jumping into some of the meat and potatoes on the product line that we have the wonderful eVault 18.5, and then the younger sibling, the eFlex 5.4. The eVault 18.5 is scalable up to 220 units. It's SGIP approved, has this live LCD display, and we also have the eFlex 5.4. The 5.4 is our more modular unit, stacks up to 15 units for 80 kilowatt hours, sorry. And because of the relay-based battery management system, this will have that closed loop data communication with those inverters I aforementioned. They'll have remote monitoring of each pack and also a single cell management and monitoring. The pack technology is cell to pack architecture, and it comes with an IP65 rated enclosure. You guys see, I don't know if I can zoom, awesome. So we see the ribbing here on the top of the eFlex. This is an integrated heatsink, so this is going to allow for 5 times better thermal performance. And since this unit is indoor or outdoor rated, that is very, very important. Now, every battery provider may recommend a recommended temperature of 32 to 113 degrees Fahrenheit. We will do the same. This unit can support supercharge of 45 minutes. So this is only for emergency purposes, everybody. This is not something we'd recommend you doing on a consistent basis. This is something that for medical equipment or any other emergency application, this is when we can use the supercharge feature. The neat thing is that it not only can be used for home energy storage, you can use it on RV projects, telecommunication projects, computer server power backup projects, railway applications, all sorts of different applications you can use this product for. I did mention is indoor and outdoor, and it can be put on the wall, the floor, and we have just released a new racking system to which you can put this in a rack. So I think the idea is we have a rack, it's to my right here, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but 4 batteries can slide into a rack, and then you can parallel racks together. Now you may be wondering, well, Alex, if I have a rack of 4 batteries, why not just go with the eVault? And it's a really good question. Maybe they don't need 18.5 kilowatt hours plus 18.5 kilowatt hours plus 18.5 kilowatt hours. The sizing of the eVault is very large, makes it for a very easy installation. But if you need, let's say, 25 kilowatt hours of capacity, 2 of the eVaults, the 18.5, then 37. So the eFlex and the rack solution can really have you hone in on how much true energy storage your customer needs instead of just kind of paralleling one extra eVault on there. And since the eFlex is more modular, they can just buy eFlexes as they go. They don't need to buy, an eVault will MSRP for around $13,000. So they need more batteries. They're not just adding on another $13,000 battery. They can get something a little bit more bite-sized where they can slowly add on. Now for both products, I will recommend that you do it within 1 full year of the installation. So for example, it's already June 30th. If they install the battery today, by June 30th of 2022, you would want to make sure they have that second battery in. So going back to some of my sales points, right? So even if they do buy the battery, you can still wait 6 months down the road, get that other touch, show them that you're there, you're displaying that trust and integrity, and you're saying, how is this system working for you? Would you like another battery? Have you had an outage? How did it perform during that outage? Was there anything that we can change or add to your system to give you the full bang for your buck and have this close the gap of where you are versus where you want to be? Very excited to also mention our newest eVault Max. So this will be replacing the eVault in the foreseeable future. So the eVault Max, 18.5 kilowatt hours of total capacity. It's a 48 volt battery, prismatic cells, very similar to the classic eVault that you see here behind me. There are a few key differences though that I do want to point out. The first thing, eVault Max comes with UL 9540. For those of you in a territory where 9540 is becoming really the standard for batteries, you do not need to fret because our battery has the UL 9540 listing. It comes with an advanced digital processor, BMS, so this will have closed loop communication with many batteries in parallel. Since it can stack up to 20 units for 370 kilowatt hours, having the closed loop communication, batteries can be lined up in parallel, and then you can have the battery bank communicate with the inverter in that closed loop communication format. And if you guys see here on the top of this, if any of you guys have opened up an eVault, typically the top of the eVault comes with 6 or 8 screws on the top in which you screw them up and then you pull off the top. You see here, this is a lid. It's going to make it for easy serviceability, easy hookups, less labor costs, less balance of systems costs. It's really going to be the easiest, largest battery on the market. So the door is kind of one of those things where you push down and it goes up. So it's a very easy to which you just push the door down and up and this door open to get access to the terminals. You'll see it'll have 2 knockouts here on the side. It's an 1.5 inch knockout to run your cables, still 2-aught or 4-aught battery cables, and it'll have the ever lovely LCD display on the front. So your homeowner can monitor the state of charge of the battery, can also monitor the voltage of the battery. If they have many batteries in parallel, it'll still have that reading of parallel number of batteries. So between the very user-friendly LCD display, the knockouts on the side, the front lid coming up to see the terminals, this unit is I'm really excited to see this in the field because I think not only does this put us in the mid-commercial market, but it's going to make you as the installer's lives a heck of a lot easier with hooking us up with this inverters. Same thing with the eFlex in the rack. Instead of paralleling many smaller batteries together, same thing there. You want to make your lives easy. Having the rack where you can slide it in makes it very easy for you guys. Less time on site, hopefully less time for callbacks after the fact. So very excited to hear about the eVault Max. If you have questions, guys, just email me, alexl@fortresspower.com, or you can just reach out to your local solar provider. So some of the things we can provide here at Fortress Power, we have a hands-on management team. We have personalized client relations. For those of you guys working with me, you guys know I always am sending out emails and calling you guys, seeing how everything's going with your projects. We also have co-marketing support and can provide free leads. We have design and installation support. We have on-site technical support available. So we do have a technical support team here at Fortress Power to which you can call in, join our Discord channel to get live technical support, whether it be you're commissioning your first Fortress battery, you want to make sure everything's correct while you're commissioning your first battery, or if you're going through some troubleshooting for the battery and inverter. We have a technical support team here ready to take your call to help. And we can work with your particular solar distribution partner to do drop shipments right onto site, so that way you don't need to pick it up anywhere, and you can just have it go right on the site, wheel it out of the box in all its glory, and you're ready to go. We do have a new loyalty program that we've released. It's more details are going to be on our website, so you're going to get more sales opportunities as we put our authorized installers on the new map that we'll be creating. You're going to get regular Fortress updates, technical support, whether it's over the phone, email, and webinars, sales support, like this one I just did here from yours truly. You'll have your own like dealer, what's it called, dealer tab, where you can get pictures, contact information, references, and also marketing materials through our online shop. So we are releasing this website soon, where it'll have more information on loyalty program details, and you can earn points on all installations and get great prizes. So I want to recap. We talked a lot today. We talked about sales strategy, market growth, the product line of Fortress Power. Let's tie this all up nice and neat. Why aren't you guys selling more batteries? I think the answer to that is, are you using the right sales members on your team? Are you using wizards and relationship builders? Are you a captain and crew? What is your strategy, and what kind of salesperson are you using in tandem with the kind of technology and the kind of customer that we're using? Are you using the right customer for your model, right? Is it a progressive customer? Is it a relationship customer? Is it a world customer? Do they just want a standard product, maybe a lead acid, even for some of these world customers, because they want a standard and proven product that they can rely upon? So knowing about the right sales members of your team and strategizing that accordingly, knowing the right customers that you want to reach out and market towards. And then lastly, I typically see as standard processes for making contacts into high valuable business contacts. So using rock and pop and using your time purposefully to transform the regular, let's say, regular just consumer relationship into an actual business to relationship, to where you both can benefit with working with one another. So that may be one of the reasons why you're not selling more batteries, all in all. So thank you again for joining the webinar. You guys can see my contact information down here on the bottom left. If you have any sales inquiries, send them over to sales@fortresspower.com. Tech support can be reached here. And we also have any warranty questions or submissions can be sent to our warranty@fortresspower.com email. So I'm going to go through the questions right now, and we can do the quick Q&A and see what we got. Drew, you mentioned a really good point. Be sure to consider future load profile and electrification of loads. You're exactly right. So Drew was mentioning that you have to really make sure that maybe for the future load profile of that customer, that you're not pigeonholing them with a set battery, right? You want to make sure that if they are going to be expected to grow, that they have that option. You don't want to pigeonhole anybody into doing one thing and being stuck with it. Next, Drew, I saw your call, your message. Ricardo, I received your message. I'm currently in the Caribbean, which is a virgin market. Will your warranty be valid down here? We do have a warranty down in the Caribbean, depending on where you're based. I'd recommend shoot over a message to sales@fortresspower.com with where you're located, if you have a solar project, and then we can see if you're eligible for our warranty. There is a very good resource on our website. It's minimum sizing guidance for batteries. Very good first step to make sure you're sizing the battery properly for your project to then get access to our warranty. Drew, regarding your question, he was asking, guys, where are the best places economically to do storage? Which utilities, which states, counties, zip codes, etc.? I cover the Southwest Territory. Obviously, Southern California, Hawaii, and Arizona all have economics attached to batteries. Hawaii, there is no net metering. In California, they're charging you through the nose during peak times. And in Arizona, it's the same thing. There is no net metering. Speaking to the rest of the continental US, Drew, I'm not entirely sure. I know like in Massachusetts, there's a few rebate programs like the SMART program. Florida also would be a very good market because of all the storms they've got hit with in the past. So depending on the state, at least with the continental US, it can vary per state. Now the Midwest, as we've seen, is certainly a new booming market, not only because of, I think, the Texas storms, but because people want that backup power when they need it. The Midwest is not foreign to extreme storms, whether it's tornadoes, high windstorms, heat waves, everything else in between. So it can differ, but look at places where you have aggressive utilities and typically bad weather, and you can find a lot of battery projects there. Drew, we are not compatible with Enphase. That is correct. So I was asking our compatibility with Enphase. Since we are a low voltage system, 48 volts, we are not compatible with Enphase. However, you can certainly just AC couple the existing system to a hybrid inverter to then add on our batteries. Or the flip is maybe they have an existing Enphase, but it's at the end of its warranty, right? You could always go back and say, hey, let's pull off the Enphase, we'll put on a hybrid inverter, and then you can take advantage of new pieces of equipment and a new battery system for your project. When will 120 volt version plug-in become available, limiting install and permits? Drew, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure. I know, Drew, shoot me over an email if you can. I'll try and find out for you. I'm not sure when that version will be available. And Drew, I just answered your question about this microinverters. I have a question from Ulysses. Are your products available to be exported to Africa? They are. Shoot over a message to our sales email. We do have a representative in Africa that can support you. Michael, can any other inverters be integrated with Fortress Power batteries and the ones you mentioned? There are a few out there that aren't on the list. There's one, I believe we're testing with now, it's called Studer, S-T-U-D-E-R. That's one inverter I know my testing engineer has gone through a lot of tests with. I think Phocos is another one, P-H-O-C-O-S. That's a less popular inverter, but I know those are two other inverters that we've tested with and have had success with. They're just not on our compatible inverters list. So guys, we're right under the hour mark. I'm gonna leave the question tab open here for the next few minutes. Thank you again for joining the webinar. We covered a lot today. So I'll send out these slides in a recording of this webinar to you guys after the fact, so that way you can review everything. Remember, selling the wheel, everybody. You want the correct technology, you want the correct kind of customer and the correct salesperson. And then you want to focus on rock and pop. Rock and pop. Rapport, objectives, credibility. Then you have, forget what it's called, P-O-P. I think it's purpose, outcome, and process. So remember this, these are on Amazon, would highly recommend. Remember, sales isn't just one aspect. Everything is in sales. I'll leave it open for another minute. Michael, we do. I'm putting his email in here. I'm gonna send it to you privately, okay? Michael. Just sent it to you, Michael B. Fantastic. Everybody, thank you again for your time. Let me know about questions and best of luck selling some more batteries out there. Have a great holiday if you're in the US. Thank you.